All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is January 5th, 2026. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. And it is a Monday night, in fact, the first Monday night of 2026, and I am here with my good friend from Real News and History, Mike King. How you doing, brother? Happy New Year.
All right, Patriot. Good. How are you? Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes, indeed. Happy New Year.
It's
And
still New
certainly
Year.
it's gotten off to an epic start. I think we can agree, right?
Yeah.
We actually had, well, of course, we had the pre-planned takedown of Nicolas Maduro, which we're going to be discussing in detail tonight. Mike wrote a piece entitled Wag the Maduro. Of course, that's a phrase we've been very well accustomed. We've made ourselves very well accustomed with it over the past several years. And indeed, we're going to delve into that story. We're going to examine all the different angles of this latest scene brought to us by White Hat Productions as we inch closer and closer to 2020 election truth, which Trump himself forecasted was coming over the next couple of months. Those were his own words only a couple of weeks ago. So in the context of that discussion, Mike is going to provide a brief overview of the Monroe Doctrine, which has since been somewhat rebranded as the Monroe Doctrine. That was the headline on the New York Post. We're going to take a look at that a little bit later. But we're going to be explaining what's really going on beneath the surface of the regime change for oil narrative that's been circulating. We're going to explain to folks what we think is really going on here. And after that, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about the financial theater of this fifth generation war as we explore the content really of two of Mike's recent New York Times pieces highlighting both the Q-ification of the IRS and also tying in Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for a 2026 tax revolt. And of course, this is in the wake of the viral Nick Shirley video exposing the Somali daycare center fraud, which has since resulted, it just came out today, that Tim Walz announced he is not going, Tim Walz, I'll put his name in quotes, he's not going to be running in the gubernatorial race in Minnesota after this major scandal broke. So it's certainly looking like this might be the year, Mike, that income tax is officially abolished. The walls are closing in on the Federal Reserve fiat system. And as Mike points out in the article, and he's going to explain, when the IRS telegraphs its weaknesses, and then those weaknesses are amplified in the so-called paper of record, the New York Times, that's sending a pretty clear signal that the era of debt slavery is finally coming to an end. So that's very, very encouraging news. We're going to get into all that. And then in the final segment tonight, Mike is going to highlight three historical figures who openly pledged allegiance to the New World Order. And as he always does, he's going to bring the receipts, which really leave no room for ambiguity about what these individuals stood for, who they worked for, and the role that they played essentially in conditioning the public to accept one world government. So it should be a really interesting show. Please take a moment to hit the like button or the heart button if you happen to be watching on X. And after a very quick word from tonight's sponsor, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So we'll be right back, folks.
Your financial advisor isn't going to tell you this. Your bank won't mention it. And your 401k custodian, they're hoping you never find out. You can convert your retirement account into physical gold and silver, real metal in your hands, or stored exactly where you decide. It's called a gold IRA rollover, and it's 100% legal, 100% IRS approved. And your financial, quote, experts, they don't get a commission when you take control like this. Wall Street wants your money in their system, in their accounts, where they control it. But physical gold, that's yours. Can't be hacked, can't be deleted, can't vanish when the market crashes. Verity Metals, we're the experts they don't want you to call. Convert your IRA or 401k into gold and silver that you can actually hold. Call 480-717-9081 or visit veritymetals.com because your retirement should be in your hands, not theirs.
All right. And for those who don't know or who missed it, I had a really great conversation with Matt Geiger this past weekend. I had him on. We did a live show. And he told me that he has been absolutely flooded with calls ever since the episode aired. This is a guy who is a consummate professional, and he makes himself available to answer any and all questions that folks might have about investing in precious metals, which, as everybody knows, have been soaring lately. So be sure to reach out to him and to take advantage of what Verity Metals has to offer. And if you do decide to purchase through Matt, just know that you'll be benefiting the show in the process. So it really is a win-win scenario. Now, the number that was on the screen is a little bit different than the one that I normally give to my audience. I'm just going to put that up there for folks. You can call Matt directly at 888-470-7018. So with that said, Mike, why don't we go ahead and dig into your presentation. We're going to start out with Wag the Maduro. So let me go ahead and pull up our slides, and we're going to kick this thing off. So here we go. It is your New York Times headline here. Is that the right one? Oh, I think we went a little bit.
That's the tax piece. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Went a little bit out of order here. So
Oh,
here we
this
go.
one, okay.
I got confused for a second there. All right, Mike, take it away.
Okay. Well, you know, my first impression upon hearing this, I was not expecting this, but you have to always understand, never lose sight of the fact that you're watching a movie. And I wrote, what is most essential to understand at this early juncture is that, and pardon the repetition here, but some of you guys apparently need constant reinforcement. I got some worried emails. I had this one lady, a so-called Karen, who says, that's it, I've had enough. I quit. Take me off your list. Been reading me for years. She was a psyop. So every time one of these events happens, you get people fall off the wagon.
So the Maduro thing was what set poor Karen off?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of people, and I just don't mean Magadonians, but even who should know better, so-called in the Anon community, who still don't get it. And every time something like this happens, they think Trump did a regime change. Oh. He's acting on behalf of Israel and et cetera.
Yeah, right.
But they'll be back.
We'll actually put out a post on that at that exact topic. We can revisit a little bit later in this segment. Yeah. Continue, go ahead. Yeah.
So we are watching a movie in which nothing is real or as it seems. It's a fake Trump, fake Melania, fake Hegseth. I mean, once in a while you might see the real one. I don't know. There's some you can't tell, but certainly there's an ample amount of fake Trumps. There's no question about that. And I haven't seen any of his family members in years, real ones. And I'm like discerning like that. I could pick up on that. It's like, that's not that.
Yep.
Fake Hegseth, fake Rubio, fake Maduro, fake Netanyahu, fake press conferences, fake arrests, fake trials, fake wars, fake Congress with a Q, a fake Supreme Court with a Q, a fake Federal Reserve, et cetera, et cetera. We've done so many shows on this. So what is there to get so bloody mad about if none of it is real? Does a rational person fling his popcorn at the movie screen and storm out of the theater because of the unexpected behavior one of the characters disappoints him? So
I got to be honest.
Be careful about dipping your toes back into the real world. Stay grounded. Everything's a movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, and especially this one. I mean, there have been certain events over the past several years that have been a lot more difficult to pinpoint that it was actually part of the movie. But this one seems about as obvious as you can possibly get. And I'm going to offer some data points on that as well. But my goodness, when I heard this, I immediately thought to myself, okay, I mean, there's not even a question at this point. Yeah. And then, of course, these types of details start to emerge. So,
yeah, and I'm sure some of the characters who got nervous by now are seeing some of this, and they're back on board, because this one is particularly ridiculous. It almost makes you think, they want us to figure it out. This is too easy.
Yeah.
Here is a post by Captain Kyle. 4 different outfits on this character Maduro. And I'm aware now that there's a 5th one too. So he changes his outfits more often than Melania Trump does. So,
it's true.
Yeah. I doubt these are even 4 different players. This could just be all AI. We don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and does this guy look in any way, shape, or form like he's worried? I mean,
Yeah,
there he is, giving us the thumbs up. He's smiling at all the cameras. He's walking. I mean, as he's getting perp walk, he's looking around at everything like as if he's a tourist. I mean, the whole thing is just so obvious.
Yeah.
My goodness, and that Mickey Mouse looking hat. What is up with that? So yeah, yeah. Well, this
And
is
I know our special forces are pretty badass, but how do you just extract the president of a country without any casualties on either side, or so it seems? You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, they said that there was a handful of casualties on their side, certainly none for the U.S. military.
Yeah.
And all the reports that have come out have essentially said the same thing, that there wasn't even a shot fired
Yeah.
during this raid. And now the same military forces are out there saying, "We demand you return the president." It's like, you mean the same military that didn't even open fire when supposedly the nation was under attack and they were abducting the president in the middle of the night from his bedroom?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, it's crazy that people actually think this is real. But all right, let's continue. Go through some of the other details here.
Okay, well, trying to make sense of this, and it's interesting because only 6 weeks ago, Trump, for the first time ever, as far as I know, was posting about the machines being rigged and they're being based in Venezuela.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's the headline. This is just 6 weeks ago. The Guardian, major newspaper in the UK, Trump hints at support for a fringe theory that Venezuela rigged the 2000 election. And in the article, it states that Trump's post came 2 days after the Guardian reported that Trump's Department of Justice had been extensively interviewing conspiracists who are pushing the idea that Venezuela controls voting companies and flips votes to the candidates it favors. So I don't know if that was actually Venezuela itself, the government involved, or whether there was some deep state operations based there. But this theory has been bandied about for years now, and it's just so interesting. As soon as Trump gives it added credibility, you have this so-called raid.
Yep.
So.
Mm-hmm. Perfectly scripted.
Yeah.
Yep. And let's not forget here. I mean, he's going to be. Venezuela has been known as a CIA outpost for quite some time. It's actually been depicted in several movies. Caracas, Venezuela, is known as being one of their hotspots. So you got Nicolas Maduro, who's now going to be testifying in the Southern District of New York, of all places, by the way, against the exact organization, the CIA, that installed him into power.
Yeah.
And it's very likely that he is going to end up pleading to lesser charges in exchange.
Yeah.
So he's going to script it in exchange for evidence that Venezuela, in essence, quarterbacked the 2020 election, the stolen election.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen images of him holding the red folder. Right. Actually, there's a picture of him.
Is there?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and pull that up because that's an important data point to show folks. I have a number of windows open here, so bear with me, folks. But there's a picture of him right next to Gustav Petrol.
How about that?
Colombia.
Yeah.
There he is.
The red folder. All
right. So you got that. All right, so there he is with the red folder circulating. Of course, there's been all types of, anons know indications, shall we say, that these contain the PEDs, the Presidential Emergency Action Documents. But in essence, it symbolizes his capitulation, which happened a long time ago. Yeah. I've heard that it actually took place back in 2022, and that this is actually the public rollout. But all of the optics that are being presented here of regime change are really just to create the illusion that this guy is under duress.
Right.
We all know that he's going to sing like a canary, but it needs to appear as if he's being forced into being an informant against the CIA.
Yeah.
Topics. I mean, I already mentioned the election theft, and I think that's the big kahuna. But there's also, Venezuela has been for decades a hub for human trafficking, for drug running, etc. So there's that. And I could go on, but I don't want to steal your thunder here, Mike. Let me go back into the, I don't want to cover anything that's actually going to pop up in your story. So let me go ahead and pull that back up. But there are just so many things that make this ridiculously obvious that it is part of the scripted movie. All right, so we covered that one. Let me scroll down here. All right, there we go.
Yeah. Well, this is absolutely a calm. They're both giving the thumbs up.
Right.
They're giving the thumbs up to each other. They're working together.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that's the real Trump and the real Maduro, but this is a worldwide operation and everyone's under submission. So all of the world leaders, whatever role they're playing, good guy, bad guy, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, everything's done.
Yep.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't really expect anything imminent to come out of this. I mean, it could, but like so many of the other storylines, you know, this could fade into the back burner, and we not hear about it for weeks. You know?
Well,
but it's another front that's opened up?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Did you hear that that Maduro actually hired Julian Assange's lawyer to represent him? And he's going to be back in court on March. Yeah. Guess what day in March?
15th. I don't know.
Come on, Mike. The 17th.
What? Oh, the 7th. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, he's going to be back in court on the 17th with Julian Assange's lawyer, which I think is absolutely fascinating. But and then, you know, Trump actually came out and he said that as he was watching the raid, I felt like I was watching a TV show. He comes out, tells everybody once again, I mean, you know, scripted casting, central casting, excuse me. He's watching. He didn't actually mention that, but it's aligned with the, you know, the same basic idea. He said, as the raid was happening, I felt like I was watching a TV show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very obvious. Clearly, this is being scripted to reveal 2020 election truth. I mean, Q tells us timing is everything. You mentioned a couple examples of very suspicious timing. I mean, Trump comes out as soon as this arrest takes place. He immediately goes on Truth Social and hits us with a whole barrage of posts about election theft. So that tells you exactly what's going on here. I mean, we already covered that this guy had 4 wardrobe changes in 20 or 5 wardrobe changes in 24 hours. He's exchanging the thumbs up with Trump. No shots fired. No U.S. troops killed.
Right.
The U.S. takes control of $17 trillion in oil reserves. And then, of course, we've got the spontaneous pop-up protests within hours of his arrest, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So, yeah, this is
you know, on this issue, Trump has put a timeline, which he generally doesn't. He said in the next few months.
Yep, he did.
The election fraud is going to be coming out. Did you see that? Yeah. So.
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh, was that the last one?
So that's it. Yeah. So that's it. And you know, I know you'd mentioned off screen the Monroe Doctrine.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
And it was a headline today calling it the Monroe Doctrine. Yeah. And there's been quite a bit of talk about that. Now, the Monroe Doctrine. Now, what's interesting is, like, I mean, everybody, if they were awake in history class, even fake history, you know, President Monroe basically laid down the law. No more European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere. We will consider that as, you know, inimical to the interests of the United States,
right,
et cetera. But there's a corollary to that, too, which I think is interesting. And it's generally not mentioned, that he also said the United States would stay out of European affairs and European wars. The young United States was growing, and obviously already at that time, early 1800s, showing signs that it was destined to be an economic, eventually a military powerhouse. So that's the corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. We're also going to stay out of foreign affairs. So that makes me think of China and Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on? China wants to reunite with Taiwan.
That's right.
Okay, Russia's got the situation over there in Ukraine. Trump, Putin, and Xi work together. And already there's stories out there saying, well, if the United States could do that, we should take Taiwan, and we should be able to do what we want in Ukraine. And of course, they're all working together. And there it is. Yeah. Who put that up?
Somebody crudely threw that together. That was Paula Costa. I just came across that on X, and I wrote, yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what this is really all about. This is the optics, like I was mentioning in the opening there, the optics of regime change. And I mean, Trump being very vocal about it. Oh, we're in the oil business. We're going to take all their oil. We're going to sell it. And I mean, it's almost like it's so over the top, as if they're trying to sell it as a neocon,
right?
Regime change of old post 9/11, that you can tell that they're concealing a much larger agenda. That this is, I mean, Q140 told us that Putin, Xi, and Trump were all working together to bring down the New World Order.
Right.
And I mean, going back to the beginning of the year, Trump was he's been talking about Canada being a 51st state. He's been pretty much nonstop talking about Greenland in the wake of all this, basically saying to Denmark that, you got a couple of months to basically to figure this whole thing out. He's now also, he's openly threatening Petro, the guy, the Colombian president. He's openly threatening Cuba and Mexico.
Yeah.
So basically what's happening here is this is like the Monroe Doctrine. It's the new version of the Monroe Doctrine, where the U.S. is going to be essentially flexing its muscles and controlling all of the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. And likewise, Putin over in Europe, and Xi in Africa and Asia. The way that let me see if I can blow that up a little bit so folks can see it. But yeah, I mean, obviously this is this is not an exact map here, folks, but this just kind of conveys the general idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the multipolar world, and it's Zbigniew Brzezinski's worst nightmare having come to pass. He wrote that book in 1998 called The Grand Chessboard.
Mm-hmm.
And he said in there specifically, we've got to establish dominion over Asia, Eurasia, Central Asia. That includes everything, the Middle East, the Far East. He talked about the vast territory, the population, the resources. Whoever controls that region controls the world. And he wrote that we have to establish dominance essentially before Russia gets off its ass and China gets stronger. He specifically mentioned Russia and China.
Yeah.
If we don't get in there now. And he said that he actually said that a nightmare scenario would be if they ally with Iran, which is also growing in power and economic and military might. And he wrote this in 1998. So that's what 9/11 was all about. That and Greater Israel, of course, providing the pretext for the United States to build up its military power and intervene even more so than it already did all over the world in endless wars.
Yep.
Brzezinski warned about it, that it's time sensitive. And he also lamented the fact that the American people are historically isolationist. And the only reason we got off our ass in World War II was because of the shock effect of Pearl Harbor. So it was all for nothing, 9/11, everything. In the end, it unraveled. And it's really eerie when you go back and read these excerpts from Brzezinski's book. That's 1998. Same year that they had the false flag in Africa with the 2 American embassies, and they pinned it on this character that they just invented out of hope. Well, he's a real person, but they invented the persona of Osama bin Laden, and they were prepping people. That was 98. It's the same year that Brzezinski wrote that book, and it's the same year that Ashton Carter and Philip Zelikow and John Deutsch wrote an article in the Council on Foreign Relations magazine, imagining the transformative event. Same thing. Yep. They knew that the time was limited, and that was the time. And they really expected that out of 9/11, they could close the deal within, say, 5 years. Didn't turn out that way. And Brzezinski's nightmare was realized. Putin brought Russia back. China just kept getting stronger and stronger. So the New World Order is over. There's no question. It's done. Finished. I don't know what people are seeing or how they can not see this when they say, oh, nothing's happening. Yeah, we haven't seen the fireworks. We want the arrests and we want the great change. We want all that stuff, but
Oh, it's coming, baby.
The New World Order has been obliterated, and this is just so. We
Yep.
might all be dead by now if it didn't turn out this way.
Yep.
And it's also fits perfectly what Putin used to talk about, a multipolar world.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening. And those are the three great power centers, but they're not going to, assert like exploitative dominance over their respective regions. It's more like a protection operation, and everybody, and we're not going to allow any scumbags to come to power and start their shit. You notice there's no wars anywhere in the world.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But that's the triumvirate there: Russia, United States, and China.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And there's going to be more to come, folks. Like I mentioned, Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, of course, and also I think Iran, which of course is in a totally different part of the world. I don't know if you saw former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. He put out a very cryptic post that a lot of people are interpreting as a signal that Iran is next. I'll just go ahead and show that really quickly. It's only about 12 seconds.
Yeah.
So he puts this out saying it's time. And of course, we know that a lot of the so-called protests are really heating up in Iran. And there's been a lot of reports that it looks like an Israeli strike against Iran could be imminent. It's all theater that we're watching right now. And I think that folks need to understand that, because again, if you don't have a solid grasp on the operation and you don't understand the way the game is played, the way Mike explains it every week, you're going to get thrown off by this stuff. And you're going to say, oh, he's starting more wars. And because the people have been so conditioned to think that way, that they're going to, that politicians are going to say what they have to say to get elected. And then once they get elected, they're going to do the bidding of all of their, their donors and special interests and so forth. And indeed, the optics are very much looking that way. But I happen to think, and I know Mike would agree with me, that this is all being done for tactical reasons. And I actually put out a post on that specifically because I noticed the same thing, that a lot of people, much to my shock, actually, were kind of thrown off by this one. But to me, I mean, like I said, I've struggled with some of the events that have happened, and I've been scratching my head and going, gee, I don't know, like, how did this fit into the plan and so forth? But to me, this one was just so obvious. But nevertheless, this is what I wrote, and I'm curious to get your take on it. And then we'll share a couple more data points before we move on. So I wrote, the optics of quote unquote regime change are the cover for the public rollout of what we just discussed, the multipolar balance of power that Q alluded to in Drop 140. Trump's, and this is something else we get into quite a bit here, Trump's Zionist / neocon camo will be shed as soon as it's served its purpose. For tactical reasons, the White Hats would rather have the controversy, which prompts conversation, surrounding what appears to be yet another U.S.-led regime change operation for oil than to reveal the ultimate endgame. Other scripted interventions are slated to occur, not only in the Western Hemisphere, but also in Iran. And until the process has been completed, the optics will remain aligned with what most of the population has come to expect post 9/11. They can't reveal their cooperation with Russia and China, much less Maduro's scripted capitulation, until the geopolitical shift has come to fruition. And this is something that we've talked about quite a bit as well, likely involving a Nessun Dorma World War III scare event that will blow back on Israel, and that timing is everything. So, I mean, I'm assuming that you agree in principle with that. Did I miss anything, Mike? Did I leave anything out?
Well, yeah, I especially agree with that element that's it's also concealing things, like where we're going.
Right. It's camouflage.
Like a lot of it is, and then there's like a lot of just noise out there. So, what it's really hard to tell how, and especially when things are going to play out.
Yep.
But there does seem to be a concealing nature to some of this that just throw people off while they do what they need to do. And, so much of it is really going to be we're just not able to understand it until it happens, until the finale comes.
Well, that's true.
Huh.
Right.
Yeah,
That is true. I mean, we know we kind of
yeah,
anticipate that certain things are going to happen, but we don't necessarily. I mean, obviously, we don't know the
yeah,
sequence and the timing, but and we don't always know what the angle and what the objective is. I mean, that's a big part of the reason.
yeah. It's much easier to know or to discern what it is not. We know that it's not real,
Yeah, that's very
and
true.
we'll see where it's going. We'll see where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's a couple other data points here that I just wanted to cover on this subject really quickly. SG Anon, who I'm going to be reconnecting with towards the end of the month. He and I haven't done a show in a long time. We used to do them all the time, but
Yeah.
scheduling issues being what they are. But in any event, he put out a really interesting post that I just want to go through just to underscore that this is all part of the scripted movie, all part of the operation. So he posted this on January 3rd, just for context. So he said, tomorrow, January 4th, 2026, is an 8-year delta for Q drop 463. The text of the drop is uncanny considering the events of today, January 3rd, 2026. It reads 7 out of 10, a 7/10 Q. He goes on to say, according to the mainstream media, Trump used the U.S. military to launch surgical strikes on 7 nations in 2025 under the justification of destroying terrorism and protecting U.S. national security. Q also told us news MSM unlocks the map. If these correlations are any indicator, we will see U.S. military action in at least 3 more countries in the coming year or two for the same publicly declared reasons, as Trump and the U.S. military continue to annihilate not only the kinetic threats against the national security and interests of all countries, but the black market, IC, intelligence community, shadow underbellies, which gave birth to these kinetic threats in the first place. So here you can see the mainstream media posting that this Al Jazeera, but I think falls into that category. The U.S. carried out military attacks against a total of 7 countries in 2025. And then if we switch over here to the Q drop, again, Q463, Delta on January 4th, 7 out of 10, which is very, very interesting, especially given what we were just talking about in terms of the other countries that look like they're slated for a similar fate as Venezuela, particularly Cuba, Mexico, and Colombia. So wouldn't that be something if those 3 countries all go down, boom, 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 7 out of 10, yet another Q proof. So I thought that was
well, I've always interpreted 7 out of 10. Well, actually, we were told 7 out of 10 plane crashes are targeted hits.
Yep, that too.
Post?
Yeah, I do.
So,
multiple meanings exist, so we'll see.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
And boy, that'll be something that comes out.
Oh yeah.
And actually, and that was combined with an image post of Beverly Eckert, who was the 9/11 widow.
Yes. Yep.
Who was tireless in her efforts, and she even refused the hush money or the go away money.
Yeah.
And then she went down on a flight from Newark to Buffalo just a few weeks after meeting with Obama. And the Q posts indicate that Hillary Clinton gave that order. So, and that's I think was in that same post or shortly after, 7 out of 10 plane crashes are targeted hits. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it could be, who knows? I mean, it's speculative on SG's part, but I think that was a pretty interesting find considering the fact that this event didn't just happen in a vacuum. That Trump, I mean, no sooner did it happen, he was already talking about Cuba, Colombia, Mexico. They all got to get their shit together.
Yeah.
Basically listing the 3 countries that look like they're on the chopping block. And again, we'll have to wait and see. But my gut tells me we're going to see some the optics of some action in Iran in the very near future, probably before we speak again. That's just my general take on it. But big picture here, folks. Trump is using, like we were talking about, he's using the camouflage of the neocon regime change agenda, a playbook, if you will, to roll out the multipolar world order alongside Russia and China, like that we were just talking about in reference to the new updated version of the Monroe Doctrine. So Very, very interesting. You know what else I found a little bit strange, Mike, was a lot of people, I don't know if you noticed this on X, but Pam Bondi, when this story broke, she just put out a post where she wrote unsealed indictment in all caps in reference to Maduro.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were thinking of 3716 and 3717. You know, the first arrest, I'm sorry, the first unsealed indictment will trigger a mass pop awakening. Now, that wasn't my take on it, because I think you and I have always agreed,
Yeah.
whoever that first unsealed indictment is, it's going to have to be someone who's least expected, shall we say, by the normies, because it's a matrix shattering event. And not only that, Q also mentioned, I can't remember what post it was much later in the drops, but made it pretty clear that the mass pop awakening is directly tied to crimes against children. So I didn't have that take on it. I actually ran a poll on X and on Telegram, and I was surprised, because there were a lot of people out there who seemed to think that, because they were focusing on the word trigger, like this unsealed indictment is going to trigger a series of events that's ultimately going to cause a mass pop awakening.
Yeah.
I didn't really take it that way. Your thoughts on that?
So she posted that just after his so-called
Yeah, let me see
arrest.
let me pull it up. But yeah, she did. And Bondi. I had this one up earlier, folks. I do apologize, but may have to scroll down a little bit here.
Well, I mean, the mass pop awakening doesn't necessarily have to come from the children. The disclosure of the crimes against children was to cause the mass popular unification. So that's kind of a different issue. So it could just as easily fit into this.
You think so?
If this leads to the disclosure that the 2020 elections were rigged by machines, that's pretty big. That will lead to a big awakening. But you know, nothing's going to have the emotional impact, visceral impact of the disclosures of the crimes against children, which I don't think is going to come up front. I think there'll be big issues before that, like election fraud or something else. But I think that one they're gonna save towards the end, like the real big stuff, the crimes against children, and the 9/11. That will come much later on.
Yeah, I agree with you.
As far as the trigger, you know, election fraud would be ideal. You know, it's something that could awaken people, shock people, but you know, loosen them up for the really, really deep shocks. Because even as bad as election fraud is, it's still nothing compared to 9/11 and ultimately the children.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what she's trying to tell us. I wasn't aware of this.
Well, you know, it's so just for reference, I know that this audience is certainly very well versed in the Q drops, but what we're talking about here, just in case there are folks who aren't really sure, Q put out identical drops on December 17th, 2019. Arguably, you know, in the top 5 in terms of the most famous Q drops that get referenced all the time. So the first indictment, unseal, will trigger mass pop awakening. First arrest will verify action and confirm future direction. They will fight, but you're ready, marker 9. Now, what you said, I don't disagree with you at all, but I guess where I was coming from, if I scroll over a little bit here, was this post, 4566, and this was July 2nd, 2020.
Yeah.
So, you know, in this one, you know, Q is talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, and the argument of Maxwell is not a big enough name to trigger a mass awakening. So there's that word again. And then if you go down a little bit farther, one leads to another, to another, to another, one leads to many. Crimes against children equals common denominator. And then in brackets, no matter political affiliation, and then mass pop awakening. So that's why I always made that direct connection there between the first unsealed indictment and crimes against children. But again, we're not really sure, obviously, how all this stuff is going to play out. But you know, I just was curious to see, you know, if you had any thoughts.
Unless Maduro's also going to give information on child trafficking, I don't know, but.
Well, I mean, like I mentioned,
do you have the bond? You have the Bondi post handy?
Yeah, I had that up just a moment ago. Let me bring it back here. It basically just says unsealed indictment. That's
unsealed indictment, all caps.
All caps. Yeah.
Unsealed indictment.
And that was January 3rd. When the story broke.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely a Q reference there. Hard to interpret with total accuracy, but definitely a Q reference there.
It seems that
way. Putting it in caps like that, yeah.
It would seem that way.
Yeah.
But then, again, like I said, I was, it didn't.
And then you got the SDNY too,
Yeah, it's the SDNY. So, I mean, and we know that all of these different nodes of evil, as I call them, they're all interconnected. So the reality of the matter is, while everybody's waiting for the Epstein files, it could be that Maduro is going to open up a whole can of worms as far as the human trafficking, the pedophilia. I mean, we don't really know what direction they're going to go. So,
why the SDNY?
And why SDNY? Yeah,
foreign leader. You think it would be the district encompassing Washington D.C.? I don't know.
Yeah,
but we know about SDNY. So
yeah,
something's brewing. I mean, it's difficult to put together and certainly impossible to time.
Oh yeah.
But this is a big event. It'll, even if it goes dormant for a little while.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. I think that was about all that I wanted to mention on that front. Did you see Trump's reference to the Insurrection Act today?
Again?
That's
nice. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and play this. So just a nice little confidence booster for everybody out there. Now, of course, the context of this was the recent Supreme Court ruling, which was against the Trump administration, quote unquote. And, they can't send in the National Guard. They got to get the troops out of there and so forth. But of course, the decision more or less said that in order for Trump to do it, he would have to use regular forces, i.e., to use the Insurrection Act. And Trump was asked about this on Air Force One. This was just yesterday. Actually, no, this was today. This was just this morning. It may have been yesterday that it came out. But this is when I saw it was this morning. So let me bring that up. Short little clip here.
You know that Portland, we got it down to almost no crime. You know that? When we pulled it out, we had a Supreme Court decision. We can go back. We're allowed to go back in. But we'll go back in when the crime starts. Look, the crime will soon start because they now know that we're out. And at the appropriate time, we'll go back in, and we may, if we're allowed to. The most powerful thing we haven't used the Insurrection Act.
Wow.
But we haven't needed it anywhere. 48% of the presidents of this country have used it. Bush used it, I think, 22 times or something. You know that, right? I mean, Bush the elder.
So that was pretty interesting. Any comments on that one?
Yeah, I didn't know it was used that many times. A lot of that must have been secretive because in my research, I turned up like, 6 or 7. Ulysses S. Grant with the fighting the KKK, Lincoln, the Civil War. He said 48% of presidents, and Bush 22 times.
Yeah, I was a little bit stunned when I heard that because I was like, "Wow,
that it means it must have been on the down low."
Yeah, I mean, I knew that that Bush Sr. had used it. Yeah, I think it was
20. I don't know,
something like 20 times, or I don't know. We have to.
Well, I know the Los Angeles riots. Everybody
I was going to say that the LA riots used it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. But again,
it's like he's trying to tell us something that a whole lot of shady stuff has gone down in the past.
Yep.
Insurrection Act being invoked without us knowing it, which is precisely what he did in 2021.
Well, that's an interesting point.
That's I have never heard that 22 times Bush, half of all of our presidents.
Half of the presidents. Yeah, I'm gonna have to research that one a little bit. That's part of the reason why it had escaped me earlier when I was preparing for the show. I heard that clip and I was like, well, obviously, anytime Trump mentions the Insurrection Act, I at least have to bring it up on the show with Mike. But I had it kind of tucked away in the back of my mind when he said it wasn't the Bush using it 22 times, that it was the 48% of presidents. I was thinking to myself, how did I not know that?
Yeah.
How did I not know that? So I figured I would bring that up to you, and maybe we can dig into that a little bit. and do a little research. But you're right. I mean, it could be that Trump is kind of giving us a wink and a nod and letting us know that just because you don't know about it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Right. Yeah.
Especially in the context of what we talk about all the time, January 6, 2021. So
Didn't he just say to the reporter, you didn't know that, did you? Did he say something like that? Bush invoked the 20
yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and listen to it again.
Yeah.
Because he did say
Yeah.
something along those lines.
This is
You know that Portland, we got it down to almost no crime. Do you know that? But we pulled it out. We had a Supreme Court decision. We can go back. We're allowed to go back in. But we'll go back in when the crime starts. Look, the crime will soon start because they now know that we're out. And at the appropriate time, we'll go back in. And we may, if we're allowed to, the most powerful thing we haven't used, the Insurrection Act.
You're considering using the insurrection?
I've always considered it, but we haven't needed it anywhere. 48% of the presidents of this country have used it. Bush used it, I think, 22 times or something. You know that, right? I mean, Bush the elder. You know that Portland, we got it down to almost.
He just said, "Oh, you know that, right?" But he did.
know that, right? Yeah.
48% of presidents have used it, and he said Bush used it 22 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and all of these questions are scripted, by the way. These are all operatives.
oh, for sure.
Anytime he has a press conference.
Yep.
So yeah, he's essentially telling us he wants it known that he's going to invoke it eventually.
Yep. And he said at the appropriate time, of course.
At the appropriate times, that's all we can do is watch the movie.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we had one more comm here that I'll share, and then we'll move on to our second segment tonight. But Peg Drago, the Trump administration is Q posting again. Yeah. U.S. Department of Labor, Patriots in control.
Yeah.
We're never going to give up on our fight to put America first. And of course, this comes at a time when everybody, wait a minute, did I not even put that up on the screen? I didn't, did I? There it is. Sorry about that.
Patriots in control. Wow.
Yep.
That's I think that's the first time he's ever used that phrase. He's used a lot of Q terminology, but that's the first time he's used this one.
Yep.
As far as I know.
Yeah. Now, he may have reposted a meme or two that had that word in it. I don't really recall because I know that he's done a bunch of that, specifically Spiritual Streetfighter, who's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
She's been reposted by Trump something like 50 times at this point. But this comes at a time, of course, when there's all of this, the optics of this division inside the MAGA movement. Is it Israel first or is it America first? We've got the Trump administration, the Q team, the white hats, letting you know right there, this is about America first, and Patriots are indeed in control. So very, very interesting. As we always say, we're going to have to wait and see how the movie plays out. So let's go ahead and keep it rolling here. I can't believe we're already 48 minutes in. Let me pull up the slides here. We'll get into our second segment of the evening. So this was actually the one that I had pulled up in the beginning. It confused me a little bit. All right. So this in this segment, again, Mike is going to be talking about the Q-ification of the IRS. And also at my request, I don't think this was something he had planned on, but I noticed he had written an article about Q Queen Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for a tax revolt in 2026. And I said, okay, well, those seem like they kind of go together. So take it away, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because they actually occurred on the exact same day. That's not a coincidence. This New York Times front page story, New York Times, as we all know.
Yep.
There it is, front top corner, a government upended by a decimation of jobs. And under Trump, a lean federal workforce results in less efficient services. And again, they have to put the negative spin on there to maintain the street cred. But this is, there's a purpose to this article, which we're going to get into.
Okay, let's do it.
Here's an excerpt here. In the first year back in office, President Trump has made unparalleled changes to the federal government, shrinking its footprint both in the service it provides and the size of its workforce. And folks need to appreciate how historically significant this is, because this has not happened in 100 years.
Wow.
The only thing that ever happened, I mean, after World War II, of course, because of the cuts in military spending, but I'm talking about actual run-of-the-mill bureaucrats being let go. Never happens. When they speak of cuts, even in the Reagan era, it's cuts in the rate of growth is what they propose. There's never any actual cuts in government spending or government workforce. That never gets cut.
Right.
The last president to do that was this gentleman right here, Warren G. Harding, elected in 1920. The country had just grown weary of there was a post-World War I depression. People were already revisiting the wisdom of entering World War I. We stay out of the League of Nations. And his slogan was return to normalcy, because the Wilson years were so abnormal. And he was elected in a historic landslide. It may still be the largest landslide in American history. It was 2-1 in a popular vote. But you look at the chart, Harding reduced government spending. Look at the drop from 21 when he took office and to 23 when he left. Those are real cuts. 50%. 50% of government employees and expenditures. And also a proportionate cut in taxes. Because the income tax had already been ratcheted up when they first implemented the income tax after 1913 and 1914. It was only the wealthy, but then they started with that bracket creep. So these were massive cuts in spending and taxes, and the economy quickly recovered. That's Warren Harding.
And this was he came in office. It was in 1920.
He was elected in 1920.
Elected in
inaugurated in 21. Yeah.
Okay.
And he went right to work. Deep cuts. And in that year, 1923, you'll notice it doesn't extend to a full term because he died suddenly. That's why he's in Dig 'em Up. And there's other reasons why he's in Dig 'em Up. He was only 53 years old, healthy, and just dropped dead one day. No autopsy, in spite of some of the conspiracy theories which were circulating. Okay, so that's how historic this is. Of course, there's a big difference though, because back then you didn't have the Medicare pyramid scheme, the Social Security pyramid scheme like you had now.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
You can make these cuts, and they're really having impact in terms of getting money back into people's pockets. Today, with those two programs, as large as they are, cutting the bureaucracy isn't going to solve the problem.
No, I'd agree.
Okay. But nonetheless, this is historic, what's happened. And the New York Times is letting us know about it.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, Mike, because that is one of my big questions about the golden age. Like, how are they going to, and I think you briefly touched upon it in your article, calling it like the ticking time bomb, like how are they going to diffuse this ticking time bomb that we have in the form of these massive entitlements? Do you have any speculations about even how they could do that?
I've brought up the subject many times. And I frankly don't know. What I do know, or I strongly suspect, is they've got something in the works, some sort of plan.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to sell people on the idea that if you're affluent and you have the means to cover your own retirement, you shouldn't get a Social Security check. Everybody thinks they're entitled to one.
Yeah. That's true.
We'll have to see. They got something, and certainly you'll need some really spectacular economic growth, because the growth feeds the government revenues, so that can alleviate the problem. But in the long term, you've got to wean people away from these programs, and it can be done. You start transitioning maybe to some sort of private retirement plan for the younger people, of course, for the oldest people, 80s and 90s, and they got to be taken care of. But I'm sure there's an intelligent way of getting out of this mess, and they've got a plan. I got to believe they have a plan.
Well, yeah, if it's a golden age, it's going to
They've
be
been so comprehensive and everything else.
right.
They're
Exactly.
just gonna,
They don't leave anything to chance. And if it's the
Yeah.
golden age, and you're going to
Yeah.
have this, I mean, Trump keeps talking about, and we're going to get into the abolishment of the IRS and income taxes a little bit later. But if all of these things are in the works, and there's talk about the sovereign wealth fund and all of these different concepts, nobody really knows exactly how it's going to play out. But one would have to think that there's going to be so much wealth flooding into the country that it's going to, I would suggest, mitigate this whole idea of Social Security and Medicare and so forth. I mean, if people are just flush with cash, and there's unprecedented wealth, they don't have to pay taxes anymore, on and on and on. It seems to me like there would be a way for them to unravel this whole thing. But boy, what a mess it is, though.
Yeah.
At least the optics of it right now. But anyway. Okay, so let's go to our next.
That's a huge achievement. No one's ever been able to deliver on that. Reagan wanted to, but he couldn't because he had the press and the Democrat Party against him. So what's changed here? This is something that's just impossible. But now everything is possible in this day and age of Q.
Interesting that Harding, by the way, was right after Woodrow Wilson in World War I, and the Federal Reserve. It's like this whole Leviathan was still kind of in its infancy, and it looked like it seems as if he was trying to, like you said, return to normalcy, basically to revert this disaster that they had started. And the country was massively behind it. So,
immensely. You imagine elected by a 2-to-1 margin. And
now, isn't he usually listed as one of the worst presidents?
Yeah, always in the bottom 3, bottom 4 or 5.
Yep.
It's Harding. It's Herbert Hoover, and now Trump is number 1 in terms of worse. Isn't that interesting?
There you go. So he's
tells you something about
actually one of the best presidents we've ever had.
Yeah. It's all about inversion of reality. So
that's exactly what I was just thinking.
Again, my rule. There's always a lazy man's way out. If you don't want to do a time of reading and studying, look at stuff like this. Who do the establishment historians rate as the worst president? I mean, at the top, they do have people like Jefferson and Washington, but those are such historical giants that, that they have to. What you really want to look at is, say, turn of the century and forward. And it's interesting. It's the top guys, FDR, Wilson.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's interesting. The ticket he defeated was Cox, who was just a clone of Wilson. And the VP was a young Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Country hadn't seen the last of him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But.
Now there's a campaign poster, just to kind of dabble a little bit in history here, to digress a bit, for Harding in 1920. Look at the slogan, America First. And he had another one, which is which flag, America, League of Nations or America First? And it showed a cartoon caricature of his opponent, the Democrat Cox, hoisting up the League of Nations flag.
Oh, really?
And Harding is hoisting up the American flag.
Kind of similar to America First or Israel First. Why are all these Israeli flags all over the place? That's interesting. Yeah.
And here's Trump reviving that slogan, which, by the way, was again revived during the run-up to World War II by Charles Lindbergh and the America First Committee, who were warning against FDR's scheme. So again, there's a coincidence. My esteemed counterparts in history, the fake historians, happen to rate these guys at the bottom, and they both happen to have the same slogan. So it's just
same
slogan. Everything you need to know. It's either, if you're for world government and you work towards that end, you will be memorialized like Wilson and like FDR and like Eisenhower, etc. If you work against the globalists, you end up dead and your reputation ruined.
That's
And
right.
the only reason Trump is still alive is because he had the military protecting him.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same slogan that we just saw the U.S. Department of Labor put up with
Yeah.
the Patriots in control, but they said we're never going to give up our fight to put America first.
America first. Yep.
That was Trump's first mantra going all the way back to 2015, 2016 in that campaign. I mean, it was like all he said. It was America first, America first.
Yeah. Well, he knew what he was doing. He knew he was inciting his adversaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it really drove him nuts. And that's actually part of the reason why AIPAC started to divide and split and later imploded. Because there was an element of the Jewish elite. When they hear America first, that's like a crucifix to a vampire. They freak out.
Yep.
And then you had that other element of AIPAC who they weren't as left-wing and Marxist, but they loved his pro-Israel rhetoric. So they loved Trump. They fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. But you had this bitter divide within AIPAC. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The ones who just couldn't take this rhetoric about America first versus the other ones who said, nobody loves Israel. So that was deliberate.
Yep. Exactly. All right. Scroll down here.
Okay. So I just extracted a few lines from the article, and then I provide my analysis of it. And you'll see that something doesn't make sense here. Well, it does when you understand the game. Okay. The Times writes, the Internal Revenue Service, which lost about 25% of its workforce, is now contending with a substantial backlog of cases because of the departures and the recent government shutdown. So perhaps that was part of the game too, the shutdown.
I think
So
it was.
between the two, they're like hosed. They're buried.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
According to the Taxpayer Advocate Service, a branch of the IRS. And my analysis is this. Let me get this straight. Not only is the IRS, I call it really sucks, publicly admitting that they are shorthanded and, quote, substantially backlogged, but they're broadcasting this weakness through the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
Who broadcasts their weakness like that? You imagine like a boxer before the match announces, I have sore ribs on my right side.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
Just
sense.
FYI, don't hit me there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the IRS telling the world on the front page of the paperwork record, we're backlogged. We can't keep up. And our ranks have been decimated.
Yeah.
The article continues. This is quoting an IRS official. It is going to be painful for the next couple months until we get out of the hole that we're in. Aaron Collins, the National Taxpayer Advocate, recently told a group of tax lawyers and accountants. Painful in a hole? Again, my own accountant revealed to me that a few of his clients, aware of what's going on at the shrinking IRS, are taking a wait-and-see approach to paying their federal taxes for 2025. My accountant told me this because they have special back-channel communication procedures in place where they can get somebody on the phone at the IRS relatively quickly because there's CPAs. Yep. And he says it's hard to do that now. And people on the inside are telling them they're backlogged. So this all, you have the my real world experience matching up perfectly with our Q analysis here. The IRS is in trouble. That's for sure.
And this article comes out at the very beginning of tax season.
That's right. Right at the turn of the year.
Yep.
We're in a hole.
Yep. At exactly the same time as this whole Nick Shirley video comes out and exposes, I mean, after, of course, a whole year of exposure through Doge of all the waste, fraud, and abuse. And then we have this viral video. I actually think that Shirley was, he's part of the 60,000 man army, but that's a separate point. But he puts out this video exposing the Somali daycare fraud to the tune of millions, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And all of these things are just so happen to be coordinated and be rolled out at the exact same time as this article comes out, where people are asking the question, why in the hell should I even pay my taxes? And then they see this on the front page of the New York Times.
Yeah, so not only are you getting a moral justification for not paying it, now you've got the paper record on its front page saying
you'll probably get away with it.
Hey, if you don't pay it, they can't do shit about it. They're backlogged.
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
but it does make sense because we know what's going on here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Do
you think they're actually trying to convince people to withhold their taxes? Do you think that's what the Q team is doing here?
Yeah, because when you have an operative like Margie Taylor Greene saying it, and then there was somebody else who has like 1 million followers on Twitter saying, I'm not paying. Okay, so that's encouragement.
Yep.
And then it goes hand in hand with this, because it's the paper record and other media sources pick up on this, and I've seen it. So now the word is getting out there on the street that the IRS is shorthanded and backlogged. And then on the other hand, you have these people telling you not to pay taxes. So this is the kind of stuff that could definitely feed this tax revolt.
Yep.
It gets going. I suspect the media will amplify it even more, and then it'll become the cool thing to do. And then normies will join in. You see?
Yep. And then they'll just say, you know what? We don't need the IRS anyway.
Yeah. Maybe Trump's not so crazy after all.
Mm-hmm.
And also by now you have a universal awareness of what Trump has said about the IRS now for the several years.
Yep.
That's how it works. It starts with the awareness. People laugh at it, but then you see stories like this, a call for a tax revolt, the situation in Minnesota. So it definitely seems that they're really cultivating this thing.
Yep.
Slowly but surely to turn to a tax revolt.
Yeah, and
but
Trump
is the kicker, because the one thing that could stop the tax revolt is the fear.
Right.
And this article is kind of telling you they can't do that anymore.
Yep. It gets rid of a lot of that fear. Yep.
Yeah.
And Trump has been saying now for months and months that the External Revenue Service and all the tariffs, all this wealth that we're bringing into the country, we don't really need the IRS anymore. You're not going to, it won't be long before you're going to have to, you're not going to have to pay income tax anymore.
Yeah.
So you take all of these things and you piece them together. It looks pretty clear that they're trying to encourage folks to engage in this tax revolt. Now, obviously, neither Mike or myself are telling folks whether you should pay your taxes or not. I mean, that's a decision each and every one of us has to make. But we're just kind of, reading the tea leaves here. It seems to me pretty obvious what they're doing.
And one operative on Twitter, they're operatives when they have 7, 8, 900,000 million followers. These are like names I've never even heard of before. She put, all you have to do is put exempt on your W, something like that. Actually giving you instructions. So I don't think Q operatives are going to entrap people like that.
No.
They're not only suggesting it, they're telling you how you can do it. If you're a wage earner, you change your status to exempt. Mm-hmm. Some people do that anyway, because then they hold out to their money, they invest it, make a little interest on it, and at the end of the year, they pay what they owe. So in essence, they got an interest-free loan from Uncle Sam.
Right.
If I can put it that way.
Yeah.
So that's what's really strange.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving you advice to do something like that. Would they really be endangering their people? I don't think so.
No.
Then another line from the article, the agency's ability to audit companies and wealthy individuals has been most likely weakened because of the staffing cuts. Several current and former IRS officials said. My analysis, the criminal entity, which since that unlucky year of 1913, was called the Bureau of Revenue back then, that was a forerunner, has, with the collaboration of big media, utilized public intimidation and fear tactics forever. But now they're announcing that they're struggling with the audits of companies and wealthy individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everybody, we can't do audits.
That's right. And if they can't,
on the front page of the Times.
And if they can't audit major companies and corporations who have the most money to begin with and wealthy individuals, you really think that they're going to go after your average Joe for withholding their taxes?
Yeah, exactly. They can't even go after companies.
Mm-hmm.
People will do what they think is right, but for many people, they will take this as a green light.
Yep. Indeed. That's how I'm taking it. I'll just say it.
Yeah.
I'll say it to folks. I mean, I'm not going to put myself in a position where I, as a public figure to say, don't pay your taxes, but I can tell you that's how I'm interpreting all of this stuff. And that's the direction that I'm going. So people have to make up their own minds, obviously. But I remember you had mentioned, I think it was last year, that you would put in for an extension.
That's right.
Is that
taking a wait and see approach?
Wait and see approach. So you're in that camp too. Yeah.
Which I'm extending to more wait and see.
Let's wait and see a little more.
Yeah. And again, my CPA says he's got other clients doing it, and he's not really discouraging them. These aren't really political people. They're just, this is out there now, especially if you're like a business owner. It's kind of out there that there's something going on at the IRS.
Well, they always, I mean, you mentioned the fear tactics. They always had to use the fear tactics, and they had to make, and this is what we're going to talk about now, make an example out of certain people in order to instill that fear into everybody to not, to toe the line and make sure that they're paying their fair share, quote unquote.
Right.
But the reality of the matter is if the masses out there, even if a substantial portion of the population withholds their taxes and doesn't pay, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
They can't come after everybody.
Yeah.
Even if they had all the manpower and so forth, that even if the New York Times wasn't admitting their weaknesses and the fact that they're short staffed, et cetera, you got millions and millions of people. There's no possible way that they can go after everybody.
Right.
And this is historically what they've done, as you're about to talk about. So.
Well, that's right. And the press is a big part of this. They work hand in hand with the IRS to terrorize the public.
Right.
And the way they do that historically is you take out some big name celebrities and you make a big story about it.
Yep.
So the little people watching at home say, oh, wow, they got him. What chance do I got?
It's kind of the reverse of what we were just talking about.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
And they're held up and there's so many. These are just a few examples here that I pulled out. The first one is very interesting. It's you see the boxing legend champion Joe Louis and Jesse Owens. Both of these guys were crucified by the IRS, and both of them campaigned for Republican opponents of FDR. And Joe Lewis's case is particularly sad because he got into trouble for turning over the proceeds of charity bouts 100% to veterans organizations or military organizations during World War II to help people out with their expenses, their wives and their families back home while the guys are fighting, that sort of thing. So he staged these charity bouts, and then he volunteered for the war to boot. Okay. So he got a big purse for these fights, turned it over dollar for dollar to charity. And then later on, the IRS comes knocking. They say, oh, no, you had to pay us first. You couldn't just turn that over to charity. And then they hit him with penalties and fines and interests.
Oh, yeah.
And the top rates in those days were like absurd, ridiculous. And he ended up owing so much money, he had to go back into the ring when he was over the hill already. Like 35 years old or so. And he ended up getting beat up pretty bad by Rocky Marciano because of that. And Jesse Owens the same way. But both of them, he campaigned against the New Deal. Joe Louis said there's no future for black folk on welfare. Because that's what the Democrats were trying to do back then. Yeah. How pathetic was that? They called it relief back then. Says there's no future on relief. Vote Republican.
Mm-hmm. And wasn't it Jesse Owens who debunked a lot of the narratives about Hitler? Because he was.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
So
he said I wasn't snubbed. First, he said I wasn't snubbed. It didn't happen. When I walked by the chancellor, he rose and he waved at me, and I waved back. Then it came out that Hitler and Jesse Owens had their picture taken together. There's two different corroborating sources on that. It's a whole story on that. It's in my book, the Bad War, my World War II book.
Yeah, I remember.
That's such an enduring myth. I thought I should mention it. Can't get this on Amazon. You get it at my website. It's also part of the PDF package. So Yeah, totally debunked. Hitler did not snub anyone. Had his picture taken with Jesse Owens.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Jesse Owens in 36 or 40, he endorsed FDR's Republican challenger. And FDR was known for that, for using the IRS to go after people.
Yep.
So it's interesting.
Yep. They hated him too.
Yep. Willie Nelson, was big news. IRS troubles. Darryl Strawberry, famous baseball player. Martha Stewart. So many more. Wesley Snipes. Okay. But it seemed like there'd be one a year. They would take somebody to make a sacrifice, some big name.
Yep.
And then the press really amplifies it.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because it's a big name, it's news, but it's sending a message. This is what happens. Now here we are, the same press saying IRS is shorthanded; they can't do nothing. So
yep.
This, really historic.
And the other thing too is that if it was that cut and dry, that that income taxes are legitimate and they're constitutional, and they went through all the proper channels, as we know they didn't, in order to get passed, they probably wouldn't have to use these scare tactics, Mike.
Well, that's right. You know what they're afraid of? That there has always been a legal means to get around it. You got to do it the right way. It's actually one of my sponsors here, freedomlawschool.org.
Oh yeah, give him a plug. Go ahead.
Yeah, they've been showing people for 20 years how to do it. There's tens of thousands of people who have not paid their income taxes ever.
Yeah, I hear it from people all the time.
Yeah,
and over the past couple of years, I've been giving more and more thought to it. Like, what kind of a schmuck am I that I'm still paying my taxes? And then after 2025, and after all that we've seen come out, Doge alone, let alone the Nick Shirley stuff, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, wait till they uncover the fraud in California and Ohio and other places like that. That's even worse. Makes you, it kind of gets you to a point where you're just like, this is, it's actually time to learn how to extricate myself from this, basically.
But that's why they use the fear, because technically you don't have to pay income taxes. But there is a right way. There is a right way to, for lack of a better word, evade it. Okay. But they don't want people learning that. So you trot these people out because they didn't go about it the right way. They just didn't pay, and they get them for tax evasion.
Yep.
But it was like once a year to be like a big name would be crucified.
Isn't that what they ended up getting Al Capone on?
Yeah, that is Al Capone. They got him on tax evasion. Forget about the massive criminal racket and all the killings. No,
tax evasion shows where their priorities are, right?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. So I think that was the last slide there. So
and again, this is the same exact day. It can't be a coincidence. You had this front page story coinciding with the beginnings, the early calls for a tax revolt. And I sent you an image too.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, because I also did a story on Margie calling for a tax revolt after accusing Trump. So these are like back-to-back days. Okay.
Right. Yeah, let me pull this up here. Yeah, I actually just pulled up the article, but I'm going to pull up the image you sent.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
And boy, Margie's just like a superstar now. She's quit Congress, but she's bigger than ever.
Yep. She's only just begun.
Yeah, I mean, she's the QAnon queen. She openly supported QAnon in the beginning, and they made fun of her. Now she's all over the media, and she gets these respectful hearings from these major shows: 60 Minutes, The View, The New York Times. And if you just keep an eye out for her, whenever she's written about or whenever she's featured on a TV news program, she's always treated respectfully now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the whole issue is that she's turning against Trump because Trump has betrayed our movement. But when they treat her like this, and libtards and normies see that, she becomes much more palatable to them because they're reactionaries. They're like, okay, now she's saying Trump bad. Therefore, Margie good. So when Margie was saying Trump good, they hated her. Now she's saying Trump has betrayed us. They like her.
Well, that's understandable for the simple-minded normies out there. But
Yeah.
for the black pill addicts, it's a whole different matter. It's like all of a sudden they actually think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer Q. The same woman that that posted Rachel Chandler.
Yeah.
What was that, like only a matter of months ago?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden here she is on 60 Minutes, she's on The View and so forth. And people are going, oh, she's a traitor. And I mean, buying into the optics that Trump is selling is just so obvious. But she is Q to the core, no question.
Yeah. And what she's doing is she's winning a lot of people over now to her side, especially women. Mm-hmm. She's saying, well, these women, Epstein Island, they deserve justice. Who's going to argue with that? Mm-hmm. And so, if she's winning people to her banners, little do they know that they're joining the ranks of the whole Trump Q movement.
Yeah. And if this wasn't
the beauty of this.
And if this wasn't the Q mainstream media, do we really think that even under the circumstances of the optics that she's turning on Trump, do we really think that she would get such a respectful interview on The View?
Right.
And on 60 Minutes, that they wouldn't be hostile to her and bring up so many of the things about her past? I mean, they kind of, they whitewash the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They would just say, look, she's against Trump. She's even nuttier than him. They would be having fun with it.
Right.
But no, they're asking her legitimate questions, and it always comes back to Epstein Island. She mentions other things too. I think she just made a statement on Maduro, right?
Yeah.
But it always comes back to Epstein Island, the issue that's not going away.
Yep.
And here was a very interesting comment that someone posted after my most recent appearance on Dave's show over at News Treason. The commenter writes, my daughter, who hates Trump, has mentioned that she likes Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I never bring up any politics. She did it for the first time. Q is doing their job, waking up the sheep with the truths that she'll hear. Looking forward to her saying, Mom, you were right. Boom. That's what the so-called split is between Margie and Trump, and it's working.
Yeah,
and it's going to get better in the new year.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, this we'll see where she goes with this tax revolt thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and it's just another example of how brilliantly the White Hats are using the Trump derangement syndrome. To their advantage with Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's absolutely brilliant. And I keep waiting for somebody in my family to make a similar comment to me. Oh, you were right. Just about one thing. I mean, that would be probably a watershed moment in my life. If any.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely certain that they agree that these women of Epstein Island deserve justice.
Yeah.
Right. And the files have to come out.
Yep.
That's a big achievement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's another banger piece as per usual. So let's take a little break here and let's go and pull up Mike's website as we do every week for realnewsandhistory.com. And he just showed you the Bad War. He mentioned that you can not get, unfortunately, on Amazon. It's too hot to handle. But indeed, you can get that at realnewsandhistory.com. So we like to pause every week, especially for the benefit of new viewers who are just getting acquainted with Mike King, to learn a little bit about where they can go and read his articles, to buy his books, to support his incredible efforts for this movement. So, Mike, why don't you tell folks a little bit about your unique niche, what you bring to the table that really nobody else is doing, that you've actually put on display and will continue to for the remainder of the show when we get into the history segment.
Well, as you got a taste of in the prior piece, when I was talking about Harding and America First and linking it to Trump, that's what I do. I constantly weave the history and the news together. So it gives you a much clearer understanding of contemporary times. You see where we've come from and just how entrenched this cabal has been all these years. So that, it's very unique. You're not going to find anything out there weaving together seamlessly the real news with the real history. And here's my motto: fake history is the fake news that is passed into the rearview mirror. So when false narratives were disseminated many, many years ago and time passes, they become fossilized, and then they're really hard to dispel. But that's what I do. I call it correctionist history. I like that much better than the term revision. Revision makes it sound like you're changing history. I'm a correctionist historian. Okay. So there's the website, realnewsandhistory.com. Please bookmark it, check it often. Very user-friendly to navigate, a ton of free content. Then I've also got the Mike King University. This is the paid content. This is all 34 of my books and booklets. You can get them in PDF format for the ridiculously low price of $29.
Yep.
And if you've never found it, if you found history to be something boring or not, something you're not interested in, you will be when you read this, because I present it the way it's supposed to be presented, meaning truthful, clear, and most of all, concise. I get right to the point. Economy of words, tons of images. And history is really, it's the greatest story ever told. There's no fiction that matches up to history. You got suspense, you got drama, you got action, everything. Yep. So that's what I do. So that's the PDF package, Mike King University. You ought to check it out and help support the site and the growth of the site. If you're old school, you want physical books in your hands, I've got an Amazon page, and my author page there is Mike S. King, and you'll find most of my physical books available at Amazon. Some people are slowly but surely collecting all of them, which is great. Of course, these bad boys here, I should mention, you're not going to find on Amazon. It's still too hot to handle. World War II Truth, The Bad War, and then The Song That Never Ends, debunking the so-called Holocaust. But you can get this at my website. You go to the www.2 page. There's a pair of beautiful coffee table books. And you can also get a package deal on them. They're also part of the PDF package. But if you want the physical books, you can still get those at my website. All other titles that are not available on Amazon, you can get here, but most of them you'll find at Amazon. So where you want to start is with Crash Course. If you could put the Amazon page back on. If you don't have this book here, this is where you want to start. Some people get overwhelmed. They're like, what book should I read first? Well, do Crash Course NWO, 250 Years of Global Conspiracy in 1 hour. You read it 1 hour. It's like 80-something pages, very large print, tons of images. Almost looks like a children's book, but it's very profound stuff, and it gives you an overview of this New World Order cabal that has just been destroyed. It's gone. This tells you, you'll see the continuity of it. And then, of course, the happy ending is The Secret Plan to Save Humanity. That's a crash course on the rise of the Q operation and Commander Trump. And we should all be activists. You should all have people on your list that you're trying to influence. This is where you start. Crash Course NWO. Then you show them the happy ending. But really, if you want to hook them, start with the Crash Course 9/11 Inside Job piece. These are all 1 hour reads. They're all about $14. Get all three of them. But that one there is so powerful because unless you're a total normie who doesn't have any capacity at all for independent critical thought, like zero. But even if they're like at a 10 or a 15 on a scale of 100, you read that, there's no way you can continue to believe in the conventional story of 9/11. Impossible. I destroy it in just 1 hour. That will pique people's interest, and you can explain to them, would you really like to know more about the cabal that's behind it? And then you could graduate to Crash Course NWO. So it's like all sequential here. We're building a case.
Yep.
But that is like their, to me, it's kind of like their Achilles heel, their weak point to start. Yep. Because there's no way you can defend that official story, 9/11. So,
did you see the Trump about the bald eagles and the windmills?
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Oh,
yeah. Let me pull that up real quick so you can comment on that. So this was I put out a post on it. It was actually a video that I watched on X. Owen Schroyer, who's really smart guy. He used to be on InfoWars, but he's very black-pilled. He's very anti-Trump at this point. But he actually did point out some very interesting things about this post on Truth Social that Trump threw up there. And so I basically just broke it down for the audience. Trump posted this picture supposedly about windmills and killing the bald eagles. And then, of course, there's the image right there. But you can tell immediately that's not a bald eagle. That was actually the first thing that I noticed before I even noticed anything else. I was like, that's not an eagle.
Yeah.
But Owen went on to explain that it's actually a kestrel bird, a falcon, a kestrel falcon that are very common in Israel. And then if you scroll in on the picture there, you can actually see right next to the 13. That's Hebrew right there.
Yeah.
So this picture was actually taken in Israel, and you've got the 13, which a lot of people interpret as being symbolic of Judas the betrayer, or even if you didn't want to take the biblical route, you could just associate the number 13 with bad luck.
Yeah.
And then probably the most compelling part, of course, down here at the bottom is the timestamp. You got 9/11. And then one of my other viewers actually pointed out that even the pixels here add up to a 5/5.
Oh, wow.
So pretty interesting
Yeah.
comment. I thought I'd just throw that out there in the context of
Yeah, and he posted it, and of course we know his true social avatar is 9/11 in red, white, and blue, right on his face, unmistakable.
mhm. One of the many comms that we've seen.
This is
That was huge, though. That was huge.
yeah, that was. There's no doubt about this one. Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, we digress a
So
little bit.
that's still the big one. I mean,
Mhm.
nothing's bigger than the children, but this is like Epstein's Island because it connects and unravels so many other things. I talked about Brzezinski earlier, lamenting the fact, warning about we've got to take over Eurasia before China and Russia get together, and like here we are. But that's what 9/11 was designed to prevent. That,
Yep.
and it was also the Greater Israel thing. It's everything.
It's all
All
tied
ties
together.
in together. This leads me to the last element of my, I guess you could call it 3-part operation now, is the Rumble channel,
Yes.
which I'm over 23,000, approaching 24,000 soon. Very
Awesome.
excited. Yeah.
Awesome. Let me go and pull
Just
that up.
trickles in. Like, yeah,
And there's a link to it right on the home page of Mike's website. You see,
that's right. You can get to my Rumble page. And please, if you're following Patriot, follow me as well. Okay. It's a different genre here. I'm anywhere from like 10 minutes to 30-minute talks, history, but also like current events, Q stuff. And in a day or two, I will be posting episode number 36 of The Rise and Fall of New World Order, which is the Obama years.
Yeah. Let me scroll down to the bottom. Yeah.
Okay.
This is all on the playlist, so you can watch them in order.
Yeah, I've been working on this since early summer.
Yep.
Okay. and this is I mean, I go back 2 centuries, even covering some stuff in the late 1600s. And I'm going decade by decade, showing the unmistakable link of this New World Order cabal. They're behind all of the major events of history.
Mhm.
And when you get to where we are now, the Obama years, which I'm going to post either tomorrow or the day after, you'll see just how helpless the situation appeared in 2015. And I'm going to end the Obama video with the escalator ride. And
Nice.
who knew back then that was the beginning of the reversal?
Yeah.
So
We've talked
you
about
want to watch these in chronological order, and you'll learn so much. I'm just talking like I am now, and I hold up my little show and tell stuff. Okay. So that's it. You got my Rumble channel. Please follow me. Mike King, Mike is King. You got my Amazon if you want the physical books, and then you got the website if you want the PDF package, or just to read the free stuff. That's fine as well. And just spread the good news of this site, because it really is. My work is truly unique, and for that reason, I wanted to get out there, because everybody who comes across it expresses gratitude that they've finally been taught something that's really not complicated, but nobody ever presented it to them.
Yep.
You know,
and
So
you
that's
can
what
do
I
it.
do.
You can do it unlike anybody else. And I've also
Yeah.
noticed that your Rumble channel, your videos are starting to make it into the leaderboard. So for all the folks out there who are supporting Mike, and for people who don't know, by the way, the Rumble leaderboard is all based upon likes. I actually thought it was more complicated, like it was some weird algorithm that they did, but it's
Oh,
literally
it's on likes.
how
Okay.
many likes a video gets. And we've talked about this before. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say probably at least half, if not more than half of the videos that are typically on the leaderboard in the top 50 are Q related content.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mike King is very, very rapidly getting recognized as
Yeah.
he deserves to be. So make sure that you support Mike. Go buy his books, folks. Make a donation, and make sure that you are keeping him viable, keeping him in the game. He's been doing this for 14 years professionally. This is what he does to earn his living. It's his passion. Obviously, that's what drives the whole thing. But Mike woke up. It was in the early 90s. He's been awake for, over 30 years, and his research is just absolutely impeccable. He brings the receipts. As a matter of fact, the last segment tonight, the article is actually called Receipts, Receipts, Receipts.
Yeah.
But that's really something that you can take to the bank is the information that Mike presents. He's going to bring the receipts, and this is an individual that is unlike anybody else in the community, and he's doing incredible work. So make sure you purchase his books, whether you do it through Amazon or whether you do it on his home his website. That is up to you. But 34 books for under $30 is an absolute no-brainer. As a matter of fact, Mike, I meant to ask you because I saw somebody comment on one of your posts saying, "Oh, you have like 33 books." That's a strange number, almost like they were trying to imply. And then you said, "Actually, no, it's 34, and it's soon to be 35." Am I correct about that? All right.
Can you talk about that at the end?
Oh, at the end. Okay, we'll save that one for the end. Okay, excellent. So
I always say the previous one's going to be my last one, but then it's like,
Oh, come on, you can't stop now, man. You're on a roll. We need you. We need this history. I mean, this is such a fundamentally important part of the Great Awakening. That's why I have so much respect for Mike, because he's fulfilling this very unique role that literally nobody else out there is doing. Nobody else is a correctionist historian who's actually connecting the dots with the Q operation.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I'll save that to the end. That's always the last question I ask anyway. So, receipts. Let's talk about some of those. So in the final segment tonight, Mike is going to take us through some of these darn convenient, those darn inconvenient receipts, specifically with reference to 3 individuals, 2 of whom I'm sure everybody's heard of, Einstein and who is the other? It was Einstein,
Winston Churchill.
And another individual that some folks may not know about. So, Mike, with that, why don't you?
Yeah. Well, one of the hallmarks of all my work, and it's deliberate, is I always try to, whenever possible, have my adversaries make my argument for me. Okay? I mean, like, a receipt is always good if it's valid, doesn't matter where it comes from. But, when you cite, for example, someone like David Irving, the great David Irving, Hitler historian, World War II historian, spent countless hours in dusty old archives, charming German widows out of their husbands' letters and diaries. He was fluent in German, but that sort of stuff. People will always say, "Oh, that's David Irving. He's a Nazi, or whatever." Doesn't matter if it's right from the archives. That's how people are. Yep. But if you can cite something from a mainstream source, nobody can refute it, because those are the sources that they worship, right? And surprisingly, you go through all the issues of old newspapers, magazines, newsreels, New York Times, you'll find you could almost make an entire case against them just with their own words, because the way they play the game, especially back then, when they had to maintain an illusion of objectivity, is they'll take a truth gem and then they'll bury it somewhere in the paper, because they know that it's the headline is what sticks and the repetition is what sticks. The stuff that you only print once in the inner pages doesn't really have an impact, but it covers your ass, because you can say, "Oh, we reported that. We didn't cover nothing up." That's how they play the game. Yep. So if you can ignore the superficial things like placement, or repetition or frequency, and just treat everything equally for its true intrinsic value, you'd be amazed at what you pull out in the interior. And I specialize in that. And I love it because it's like, hey, no, this is the New York Times saying this. You're telling me they misquoted people? You know, they misquoted Hitler. They hate Hitler.
Normies aren't going to argue with their Bible.
You can't. Yeah. So, you know, in legal parlance, they call that testimony against interest.
Yep.
Which means that even though the criminal defendant is a crook and a liar or whatever, if in the process he slips up and gives you something that could be used against him, you could take that to the bank. Okay.
Yep.
So, so that's what I like to do. And I've got countless cases of this. I even got a little booklet. This one's not on Amazon, but you can get it through my website, and it's part of the PDF package called Proofs of a New World Order. I've got quotes from like 40 different people, historical big names, openly advocating for New World Government or warning against it. Einstein, Churchill, Walter Cronkite, Hitler, etc.
So we're literally just talking about a minuscule fraction of what.
Oh yeah. I could do this every week. But I picked out 3 particularly powerful ones to review here that no one can say, oh, this is something you made up. Okay. First one here, David Wolfsohn. And I mean, he's not exactly a legendary, famous historical figure, but in terms of international Zionism, he's like right up there. You could consider this guy's one of the founding fathers of Israel. Anyone who's a hardcore Zionist knows the historical significance of David Wolfsohn, early Zionist leader. And in the New York Times, the paper of record, September 16th, 1914, there's this little, I guess you could call it obituary that appeared after he died. And there it is. This is just a short and sweet. Zionist leader dies. David Wolfsohn was once chairman of the International Committee. London, September 16th. Word has been received in London from Hamburg of the death of David Wolfsohn, a well-known Zionist who was at one time the chairman of the International Zionist Committee. Dr. Wolfsohn made the opening and closing speeches at the International Zionist Congress held at The Hague in 1907. In his closing address, he pleaded for greater unity among the Jews and said that eventually they must conquer the world. Oops.
Oh, whoops.
Oops.
They should have just stopped it at greater unity amongst the Jews.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that. Eventually,
you know, I mean, there's a lot of quotes from these characters talking about world domination and influence and things like that.
Now,
people could dismiss that. They could say, "Oh, you're just putting words in someone's mouth." Well, this appeared in the paper of record, and certainly from their subsequent behavior, that's kind of exactly what they did.
Yep. Now, was this individual, it mentioned there that he was at the International Zionist Conference, which I believe we've spoken about before in the early 1900s, 1907. So was this guy presumed to be one of the thought leaders behind the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion? Was he in that camp?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's not named in that.
Nobody is, right?
In the Protocols, but that is the same time period because that was published in 1905.
Right.
Okay? So he's absolutely part of that early clique with Theodore Herzl.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And they were talking about the formation of Israel way back then, right?
Well, the conference, the first conference was held in Basel, Switzerland, 1897. And that's what it's amazing because at that time, I mean, not even many Jews even heard of this Zionist movement. And here you have these people meeting at this exquisite grand hall, talking about a future state of Israel and where Palestine is located now. So, to someone who had heard such a thing back then, must have thought, these people are nuts. How are they going to pull that off? It's located smack dab in the middle of the Turkish Empire, which is very formidable, strong in its own right.
Right.
And it's an Arab population there. How do they propose to take it? With what army? They got no army. Why would you even have such a meeting? Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, they knew what Mr. Wolfsohn knows here, conquering the world. They conquered the European country, or they had great influence at that time. So they already knew in 1897 that in due time there will be a great war that's going to shake everything up. And we'll use our maneuvering and manipulation to bust up the Ottoman Empire, which is what the British did. And that's how we'll get it. Initially, they went directly to Turkey, hoping to buy the land.
That's right. Yeah.
And the Turks said, no way, get out of here. They don't need that problem in the middle of the empire with the Arab, because there's so many other subjects were Arabs. Mm-hmm. There were no Arab states at that time. They were all part of the greater Ottoman Turkish Empire. So they basically told the early Zionists, get lost with this crazy idea. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll get it when the Great War comes. So that's what they're thinking. Well, yeah.
So it was the late 1800s, like 1897. Would you say that was, historically speaking, sort of the birth of this whole concept of Zionism, or does it go back farther that you can trace in history?
Goes back a little bit farther. I think already in the 1880s, they started something called the Aliyah programs, funded by the Rothschild family, where very innocuous, they just went to the Turks and says, hey, we're just some Jews. We want to make Aliyah as part of our, which means we just want to settle and farm here for a little bit. And we're talking like a couple thousand people. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Right.
Okay. Beyond that, I mean, it really seems like it's just something.
And that was the same basic.
It wasn't until like the mid or the latter half of the 1800s where it really started to pick up steam. But certainly historically, like over the centuries, there really wasn't even such a movement,
Yeah, that's why I was curious about that. And the whole idea of making an aliyah and just going to Israel and doing some farming and all that sort of thing. Wasn't that the same hook that they used after World War II to start bringing all the Jews into Israel?
Well, after World War II, it was like, okay, we want a state now. Okay.
Oh, it was before.
So they got bolder and bolder and bolder. But initially it's, hey, we just want to go and hang out, make aliyah, no biggie, just a few hundred, a few thousand of us. That was the proverbial camel's nose under the tent.
Right. Okay. So that was like pre-World War II, and then after World War II.
So that's like 1800s. And then after World War I, you had the Balfour Declaration, or we just want to migrate here under British authority. And then after World War II, they start terrorizing the British. Britain, get out of here. We want our country. So it's that sort of thing. It's that incrementalism.
Yeah. And it ended with the Nakba that we talked about not too long ago.
Right. Yeah. So it just starts with a harmless sounding, benign sounding aliyah, and then it ends with the Palestinians being ethnically cleansed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Okay.
But amongst themselves, in their meetings, they openly spoke of a future state. Okay. But when they made their pitch to the Turks, it's,
it's a little bit toned down.
Or when they made their pitch for the Aliyah, it's like, so
that's how they got their foot in the door.
Yeah. But they.
All right, so let's scroll down here. Let's talk about a guy everybody knows.
Oh, Einstein, the Time Magazine Man of the Century, with his bogus theory, which Nikola Tesla, to his dying day, denounced. That's another story. But, this guy is held before us as the greatest scientific genius ever lived. In fact, you know how at Neville Chamberlain, if you put the term appeasement in a Google search engine, all you get is poor Neville Chamberlain. Well, if you put the term genius in a search engine, this is all you get is Einstein. Yeah, nobody else ever. I mean, he didn't invent anything.
Yeah.
There's no other scientist but Einstein. Incredible hype job.
Yeah, he stole everything from Tesla anyway.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have anything to steal. But the math equation was stolen. But even the math equation is, yeah, I mean, the math might be sound, but it doesn't correlate to reality of curved space and time warps and all this crazy stuff. And it is interesting. In about 1930, 100 of Germany's top scientists refuted Einstein. They actually published a book, 100 German scientists refute Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't say, well, that's because they were Nazis. Well, no, Hitler didn't come to power until 33. This is 1930. And some of the signatories were also Jewish scientists. So that's like 25 years after relativity. You still got the top physicists, astronomers saying this is garbage. But I digress here.
Yeah.
But he's quoted that headline there. That's New York Times. Again, Einstein predicts an armed league. The scientist says that Wilson's work, meaning Woodrow Wilson, will be revived by the nations in a more powerful form. It's your New World Order. Wilson used to refer to it as the New International Order. And here's just a quote. A federal organization of the nations of the world is not only possible, but it is an absolute necessity, in my opinion. The only salvation for civilization and the human race lies in the creation of a world government. So it sounds like the climate change propaganda hysteria of the modern day, doesn't it?
Yep.
Salvation, save the world.
Yep.
World government, it's the only way.
Mm-hmm.
Worldwide organization cannot ensure peace effectively unless it has control over the entire military power of its members.
Spoken like a true tyrant.
Yeah, no thanks, Albert.
Yeah.
and I sent you a link to the actual article.
Yeah. Let me pull that up.
Pull that up there.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah, you could scroll down and you could see, all the stuff he writes in there about Wilson and.
You want me to read it? Or is it
long,
or what do you? It's not too long.
It's not too long. Yeah, go ahead, read it.
All right. So, June 22nd, Professor Albert Einstein advocated a worldwide federation of nations with, quote, control over the whole military power of its members, as Mike just pointed out, soon after he had taken his final examination for American citizenship here today. He predicted the recreation of Woodrow Wilson's League of Nations in a more powerful form. The author of The Theory of Relativity asserted that, quote, a federal organization of the nations of the world is not only possible, but even an absolute necessity if the conditions on our planet are not to become unbearable for men, end quote. Professor Einstein was heard in an interview broadcast from the chambers of federal judge Philip Foreman. The broadcast was one of a series arranged by the United States Immigration and Naturalization Service with the cooperation of NBC. Marshall Dimmock, the second assistant secretary of labor, interviewed Professor Einstein, who is understood to have answered satisfactorily all questions in the citizenship test and expected to win his citizenship in October. All right, and then it just goes on about his citizenship. Yeah. We covered the important stuff.
Now he's just taking his test to become an American citizen, and right away he says, "No more America. We want world government."
Yeah, we should give up all our sovereignty and all of our military power as well. We should just turn that over.
Yeah. He couldn't have picked a more appropriate time. Wow.
Honestly, right? Oh,
so yeah, that's about it. That's the essence of it all. So he doesn't even hide it. So again, someone says this talk about a one world government, new world order conspiracy theory is crazy, etc. Well, there it is. New York Times, man of the century.
Man of the century.
Okay, advocating for it, and the New York Times amplifying it.
Okay.
And then in the last piece I picked out for tonight, Winston Churchill, another legend, phony icon, two-time Prime Minister of Great Britain, the primary instigator on an operational level of World War II. In this article, he's quoted as saying, quote, "The creation of an authoritative all-powerful world order is the ultimate aim towards which we must stride. We must recreate the European family in a regional structure called, as it may be, the United States of Europe. This indispensable structure of regional groupings is coming into being. In this way alone can the skeletal structure of world government be clothed in the flesh and blood of a living organism." There's actually a YouTube of him giving that speech. And then from the article that I selected here, the opening paragraph reads, "Mr. Churchill last night called for the creation of a world super government with Russia as one of its pillars." That's Joe Stalin he's talking about.
Mhm.
That's great. We're going to have a partnership with Uncle Joe and rule the world together. In a major broadcast speech before an audience of 5,000, he said the prospects for peace and human progress were dark and doubtful. It's always doom and gloom, right?
Mhm.
Scare tactics.
Mhm.
Unless some form of effective world super government could set up and brought into action quickly. So it was always the doom and gloom, either World War III or the threat of a nuclear annihilation or environmental threats or the
Mhm.
COVID hoax. It's always that, scare the people into submission. And that's from the Canberra Times of
Mhm.
Australia.
Yep.
So there it is.
There
Plenty
it is.
more where those come from.
Yep. It's a small sampling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Small sampling. And I think there were a couple of images down here at the bottom.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So there's Mr. Wolfsohn. The Jewish cabal must conquer the world. No thanks. Mr. Einstein, a world body, all powerful. And there's Churchill.
Mm-hmm. Who was owned by, who owned Churchill again?
Bernard Baruch.
Bernie.
Yeah, especially Bernie.
Yep. Bernie Baruch.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about him.
So this bum, I have a book on him called The British Mad Dog.
Yep.
Find that on Amazon, also part of PDF package.
Yep.
I mean, this guy may have been destined for homelessness. Okay, so they cleaned him up, propped him up, and boom, they brought him back, made him prime minister, and there was no dissuading him from waging war against Germany, because that's why his very life was saved for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So he incited the war, and when it wasn't going so badly, he single-handedly kept Britain in the war until it could be expanded and until Roosevelt could come to his rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So these are monsters,
Yep.
you know, and the fact that they're held before us as icons just tells you how powerful, pervasive this New World Order cabal was all these decades.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's over.
That's right.
But
So-
it may take a while longer to kill the phony legends of these people. But I'm hoping that once the storm hits and passes and everybody's delusions are shattered, then the minds will be open to revisiting what's near and dear to me, correcting history.
Yep, indeed. That might be the toughest challenge of all. But like you've said many times, once that dam breaks,
Yeah.
sky is the limit in terms of what you can actually convey to the public once the matrix breaks down, and we're getting closer and closer to that that icebreaker moment, as we've been calling it all along. And you know, these guys had their way. You would have had one world government. You would have had the New World Order. But personally, Mike, I think I like the idea of the Don Road doctrine a little bit better.
Yeah, I like this world's focused around the eagle, the bear, and the dragon.
Yes, sir.
The big adults in the room,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of keeping the peace, keeping the order, leading us to the golden age. Yet with all the nations of the world being treated respectfully.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Not conquered.
That's the other thing. We're not going into these areas and conquering them and looting their resources and everything.
Yeah.
And that, again, those are the optics that are being presented for the tactical reasons we explained
Yeah.
earlier on in the show. But
Yeah.
obviously, that's not the end game. So,
Yeah.
all camo. All right, folks. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. I always enjoy my conversations with Mike. It's a great opportunity. I actually feel lucky that I can just sit here and ask him questions and have him indulge all the all the things, fill in all the blanks that give me a much broader understanding of where we're at right now. So again, make sure you are supporting Mike King at realnewsandhistory.com. First and foremost, you want to make sure you go to the website, you bookmark it, you purchase a few of his books. And from there, obviously, you want to make sure that you're following him on Rumble. That video series that he talked about earlier is just absolutely amazing. You can sit there and binge watch the entire thing. I mean, and Mike is really engaging. He's easy to listen to, and he's absolutely brilliant, as you folks all know. So, kudos to you, Mike. So, all right, no more suspense here. Tell us about book number 35.
Okay, we are going to. I'm going to uncover what was going on in the years leading up to the establishment of Federal Reserve and afterwards. It's a whole lot more than what one might suspect. There was a lot of intrigue going on.
Well, I seem to remember actually, and I don't take credit for this by any stretch. I mean, I gave you the title name for Dig 'Em Up, and I actually got I got rewarded by being able to write the foreword. But I seem to remember suggesting that you might want to think about doing a book about 1913 because it was such a pivotal year. So that's kind of the time frame you're working with there?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, 1913 is the big year.
Yeah.
Right? But there's a whole lot leading up to that.
You're going to cover
and
it.
There's a whole lot that happened after that, which really creates the real story of the Federal Reserve and how destructive it was.
Awesome.
So yeah, but 1913 is in a way the focal point because that's the big event when it was passed. But I'm simply covering the the stuff leading up to it. There was a lot of stuff in play, a lot of key players, a lot of intrigue to bring it about, and it's a fascinating story.
Yep. And I'm sure you're going to weave in the new information that you actually recently came across about. Well, I think you mentioned.
Oh yeah,
J.P. Morgan, and also like the story.
The alteration of the original concept.
Yep.
Which is just something that's like totally underappreciated, if at all known, and yet it's huge. So in that sense, I'll just put it this way: there's gonna be a lot of new stuff that even people who really thought they had this historical event down are going to be shocked.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
So when does it come out?
So,
is it finished or are you still putting?
No. It's I got a lot of it done. It's in process. It's going to be one of my 1 hour to read type deals. Okay.
Perfect.
Give me another 2-3 weeks, I say.
Okay.
Yeah.
No pressure. I'm always read your new book.
Oh, you're gonna like this, and we could do like a series on it.
Beautiful.
Because this is unique. Even though people are aware of this topic and they think they know a lot about it, trust me, you're gonna learn a shitload of stuff. It's mind blowing, and it's a unique take on things, but it's supported by all of the evidence and facts. So it's actually going to be. I mean, it's not only going to be correctionist of fake history. A lot of the so-called conspiratorial history has missed a lot of stuff too.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah,
I'm excited. Does it have a title yet?
I got a few in mind, not yet. I'm going to have to maybe focus group it a little bit.
All right. Cool.
But
fantastic. All right. Well, I'm super excited because when I saw that comment, and you said actually it's going to be 35 soon, and I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know he was writing another book. So okay, fantastic. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Mike King, realnewsandhistory.com. We're going to be back next Monday, as we are every week. We do Mondays with Mike, and it's become one of the favorite shows of so many people out there in the audience. They look forward to listening to Mike on the show on a weekly basis. He's also on News Treason every Wednesday. So if you want to tune in to Dave's show, he always has great conversations with Mike. As a matter of fact, it was Dave's basic agreement with Mike to have him on once a week that inspired me to actually see if Mike would be interested in doing that on my show. So I got to give credit to Dave for that one. And also, speaking of Dave, I think we're going to be doing a show this coming Thursday. We're going to be doing a live on Thursday evening. I've got to confirm that with Dave, but we're on like an every other week schedule. And then I'm also going to be, hopefully I got to reach out to him and confirm as well, but LT from And We Know is going to be coming on the show, I believe, this Saturday. So really looking forward to those conversations. So thank you everybody so much for listening. Again, make sure that if you haven't joined Rumble, that you take the few minutes to do it. It's free, and leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, contribute to the chat. We really do appreciate everybody's support. And we will be back with you in a week. And as I say at the closing of every show, Mike, I always wonder to myself, what is going to transpire after I sign off with Mike over the next week that we're going to be talking about? And, who knew we were going to be talking about Maduro and Venezuela. So the way 2026 has started, it's looking like it's going to be one hell of a ride. So stay tuned, everybody. And thank you for listening. I'll be back soon.